All right, good morning. So today we are going to be taking notes starting on page 72, and then we will be moving from page 72 to 71 if we need to. On these notes, we're going to do traditional Cornell notes. So we're going to go over about 5 spaces, and we're going to draw a line that is a vertical line down our page. You don't need to use a ruler, just kind of draw neatly, take your time. And then across the top, we are going to write the topic, which for this set of notes will be more percentage problems. And our essential question for this set of notes, what you should be able to answer after we're all done, is how do I use percent in real life? And we've already learned a couple ways that we use percent in real life. We've talked about tax and tip and discounts. So we've already figured out that there are some ways that we do use this math on a day-to-day basis. So now that I'm done, I'm going to draw my line that's going across horizontally, and I'm ready to start taking my notes. And the first thing we're going to figure out is just a review of sales tax. And we spoke about this yesterday in class, that sales tax is added to the discounted or sales price or original price, depending on if there is a discount or not. If there's no discount, you would just apply the sales tax directly to the original price. If there is a discount, you'd figure out the discount first, and then you would apply it to the original price. In the state of California where we live, we use 8% to be our base for sales tax. Okay. And what you're going to do is you're going to find the tax amount, and then you're going to add it to the cost. So you're going to find sales tax amount, which would be 0.08 times the cost. And then when you get that, you are going to then add sales tax to cost. So then you would have whatever the tax is, and you would add it to the original price or the sale price. And that is going to be your final cost. Okay, so that is how we do sales tax. Then we have tip. Tip is added to final cost. So you figure out first any discounts, then you figure out the tax, then you can figure out the tip. Or some people do that, or some people will just take whatever the cost is, figure out what the tax is, figure out the tip also, and then they'll add them all together. So tip is, generally speaking, 10 to 20% of cost. And like I said, usually we do this before tax. And so you would take the cost and multiply it by the tip percent, and then you would get, that would be your tip amount. And then you would add the tip plus the tax plus the cost, and that would give you your final price. All right. So that's the second time we add. Now, one that is true, but we don't use it quite as much, is markup. Sometimes we also use the same process when we do interest or interest rate. But markup is basically when you go to a store and you buy something in a wholesale, like say you are doing a fundraiser and you want to sell candy bars. You can go to certain stores where you can buy those candy bars at the wholesale price, the price from the factory where they're making the candy bars. And so it's generally speaking cheaper than what you would get if you went to a traditional grocery store. Like if you go to Stater Brothers, a candy bar might be 99 cents, but if you go to the factory for Nestle, where you could get the candy bar from the factory, you might actually pay a wholesale price of 20 cents for the candy bar. When you go to Stater Brothers, they mark the price up, and that's where they make their profit. And they do that because they're providing a service to you by selling you something, and so you don't have to go to the factory to get it. Okay? So that's how grocery stores make their money. So they charge you a percent added to the wholesale amount. That's the factory price. It is the profit. Okay, so for example with this one, I'm going to actually do this one out. Let's say a candy bar is wholesale 25 cents. That's how much you can get it at the Hershey Company. If you have, now you have to have a special license to be able to buy things wholesale that you're going to resell it. You don't just get to go anybody and go buy things super cheap. So then let's say that Stater Brothers is going to mark up the candy bar, and they're going to mark it up 50, let's do 50%. So what you would do is you would say, okay, 50%, move that decimal, you're going to have 0.50, or you can cross off that 5, it doesn't really matter, times the cost of the candy bar, which would be 25 cents. If I do that out, 0.25 times 0.5, I get 5 times 5, which is 25. 5 times 2, which is 10, plus 2 is 12. I have 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I have 1 or 0.125. I can't have that as change, so I need to either figure if it's going to be 12 cents or is it going to be 13 cents. Because it's a 5 in the third digit, we're going to round that up. So we're going to have the markup is 13 cents. Now to figure out what the store is going to charge you for that candy bar, you take the markup, which is 0.13 cents, and you add it to the wholesale cost, and you're going to get 38 cents. So if Stater Brothers marked their candy bars up 50%, they would be charging 38 cents a candy bar. My thought is they probably mark them up like 90%. So it kind of tells you that's how stores make their money, which is important because they have to pay for people to bring the items in, to stock the shelves, to be the checkers. I mean, they need that money to pay a bunch of people and to make a profit. But that's definitely how the system works. So markup is something that we add to our total. You know what? We are going to move actually to page 71 because I ran out of room. So let's go to 71. And the very last thing that I want to talk to you about is this thing called percent of increase or decrease. Now, percent of decrease or increase is if, something is selling for one price and then the store raises the price, what is the percentage that they've now raised the price? So for example, Anne works at Stater Brothers and she makes $10 an hour. Okay? If her pay increased to $12 an hour, then what is her percent of increase in pay? So she made $10 an hour, she's getting a raise to $12 an hour. What is the percentage that now she's been increased? So what you do for this, guys, is you're going to remember there is a formula. And this formula is percent of change equals new value minus old value divided by the old value, and then you take that, and I'm running out of room, I'm so sorry, and you're going to multiply it by 100. Now that looks confusing, I totally get it. And you're like, what the heck, that's a bunch of words and I don't know what to do with it. But let's start plugging in what we have, okay? Looking at our problem up above, the new value. What is the new amount she's going to get per hour? What's the new, anyone? What's the new value? $12. She's going to get $12, right? What's the old value? What did she used to get?
She used to get $10.
$10, right? Okay? And then the old value is $10. So see how I took the new value minus the old value and put it over the old value. And then we're going to multiply that times 100. 12 minus 10 is what, guys? 2, thank you. Over 10. Okay? Times 100. I take 2 divided by 10. Can 10 go into 2?
No.
No. So I'm going to add my decimal. Can 10 go into 20?
Yes, twice.
Twice. Okay, so now I've got 0.2 times 100. But here's the thing, guys. When I do times 100, it's the same process we do to make a decimal into a percent. Just take your decimal point and move it twice. Once, twice. So that would equal 20%. She has now increased her pay 20%. That is the percent of increase. We will do more of these problems tomorrow. So don't worry if that's like kind of new information. We'll do more practice, but I wanted to give you a heads up on it, okay?
All right.
Thank you, guys. You're done.